Hello there, welcome to episode 64 of Never Mind the Bullens. This is your bite-sized Everton podcast and vodcast. I'm Mike Peters. Quite a lot to fold in because I haven't done an episode for 2 weeks actually since the Leeds game. I'd already said I wasn't going to do an episode to do with the Huddersfield game, but we will sort of mention that because it is important. Obviously, terrific win at Brighton, and I was going to record the episode last Monday, and I thought actually I might as well wait and hang fire and fold in all of the epic excitement of the transfer window into it as well. And then I've been working at Lancashire for the last 4 days, so therefore I haven't had a chance and meeting members of the cast of Phoenix Nights. All very exciting. But my showbiz nonsense is all done and dusted, therefore I can get back to the important stuff. Everton, right. Firstly, let's deal with the Huddersfield game. And, it was a bit of a struggle to sort of get through that game. We had to rely on a couple of refereeing decisions. The second Huddersfield goal that was disallowed, I think the rest of us would be looking through the rule back until we're about, 64, possibly, as the Beatles famously sang about, to, work out what that goal was ruled out for. But equally, we'll decide that the Moise Kean sending off was just ridiculous, really. It was so over the top. But that whole performance neatly sort of embodies Moise Kean's Everton career. Comes on, right, starts the game, scores an excellent goal, great finish, and then gets himself sent off for getting into a scrap. And that, I mean, in a sort of brilliantly kind of Glenn Keely kind of way, was the denouement of his Everton career, the final act, as he's now disappeared back off to Juventus. But it just sums him up, sums his time with Everton up completely, that. We'll deal with that and the rest of the transfer window stuff in a minute. But the bottom line is, we got through the game, had to bring on a couple of, bigger names, more experienced heads, let's say, to get us through that. And Andrew Stanz has scored a lovely goal to win the game. Great to see Jean-Philippe Gbamin back in the team. Before he had his dental emergency. I mean, honestly, that lad. I mean, how many lads has he walked under? I think he needs to stop wearing football boots now and just start wearing rabbit's feet on his feet, because that's the only way he's going to get some good luck. But hopefully he'll be back available for the Burnley game. But on to Brighton, of course. I mean, he probably wouldn't have started the game anyway, but he might well have been on the bench. And just another sort of chapter in his sort of very, very staccato start to his Everton career, which we've now had him for, 2 years? Maybe a lot. Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? I don't even know. It's all melded into us. 2 years, isn't it? Yes. But, go away and the Brighton game, a terrific away performance, and a couple of, certainly Demarai Gray's goal, an excellent goal, and nomination for Player of the Month has come his way as well, and Rafa's had a nomination for Manager of the Month as well. Slightly bizarre, given that you've only played 3 games, it's to sort of award that, but still, it's a bit of a, I think Demarai Gray's got a decent chance of actually being Player of the Month, to be quite honest with you. And we shall see how that pans out in due course. But 7 points out of 9, first clean sheet of the season. Particularly with no Ben Godfrey again. Not quite sure what's going on there, really. Saying he'd just come out of isolation, he wasn't fit. I wonder if there's something else going on. Who knows? But it's a bit weird. I have to say that he's not featured, even though he has been available. But nonetheless, we didn't miss him, but we got the result in spite of him not being available. First clean sheet is a big thing, and Brighton had a decent start to the season, so 7 points from 9. I think if any of us had been offered that before the Southampton game, I think we'd have absolutely bitten your hand off, to be quite honest with you. It's an excellent start, and looking at the next couple of games, obviously Burnley at home and then Villa away, a chance to really kind of build on that momentum as well. Now we've got, I say extra player in the squad, in Solomon Rondon. I think the transfer window has caused an enormous amount of discussion, frustration, pragmatism, and confusion and bewilderment, really, because our net spend is £1.7 million. Demarai Gray is the only player that we've spent any money on. It's the lowest net spend in the Premier League, By not as much as I thought, actually, because I think Watford's net spend is about 4.5 million this season. But still, we've signed, five players, 4 of which on free transfers. Now that, from a business point of view, is extremely good. There's no getting away from that. It's really good. But it just shows the absolute sort of, profligacy of previous regimes. And there was an interesting stat that EFC Stato put up about the net spends of, or the players that had come in Steve Walsh's time and Marcel Brand's time. Now, a caveat to this is when I looked at it, I thought, okay, but this hasn't taken into account any player sales from players that might have been there before, Romelu Lukaku, etc. But the amount of money that was spent on players under Steve Walsh's time that we did not recoup, like Morgan Schneiderlin, for example, going at huge losses, Davy Klaassen, all these players, likes of those, that were huge amount. There were very few actually that we made a profit on when we sold. I think Ademola Lookman was sort of one of the few where money was made. Looking at the Marcel Brands era, in terms of players that we've moved on or sold, actually his, I think, deficit is less than £1 million, which is pretty good. Now, it doesn't take into account signing on fees for the likes of Bernard and James Rodriguez, which I'm sure were very sizable, and obviously they were on massive wage packets. But I think what seems to have emerged from this is, I think Solomon Rondon, firstly, is a really useful acquisition. And I think when we look at it in the cold light of day, he's there to be Dominic Calvert-Lewin's number 2. Now, Moise Kean wasn't happy with that sort of situation, and that's fair enough. He's a young player, wants to play games, he's ambitious, but he just wasn't a safe option in terms of something you could throw on and think, right, or start an away game or playing League Cup ties and really cause defences a problem. We've seen what Solomon Rondon was like with Newcastle. He was good. We remember him coming to Goodison with West Brom on numerous occasions, and he won them a game. I remember under Tony Pulis where they played four fullbacks, the most extraordinary defensive performances I've ever seen. So he's he's a better number 2. We have to look at it in that way. The excitement that you want from your summer signings, that as fans that we want in terms of really engendering anticipation of the new season. With these lads, just isn't there. There's no question about that. But they are good, solid signings. They're not exciting signings, but they are ones that will absolutely improve the squad. We've discussed it before about Begovic and Townsend, and obviously Damari Gray's started his career in fantastic form. So we have to look at that. Now, obviously, the players that he wanted to shift out, he couldn't do it, and I think this has been a problem around Europe. Like Man City wanted to shift out Bernardo Silva, but on huge wages. Then there's very few clubs that can take on players on massive wages like a Bernardo Silva or like a James Rodriguez. Therefore, we're stuck with him. Now, Rodriguez has got to be reintegrated in, because I absolutely think he can play a part for us this season. I think he has to. Arm needs to go around the shoulder, needs to be brought back into the fold. I don't think he's helped himself with his sort of behaviour over the last few weeks, but he's part of the squad now, whether Rafa Benitez likes it or not. We've got him till January. Now, I think when Rafa Benitez was given the job, he clearly told that you're going to have to just suffer it. You're going to have to bite it for this year, because we've spent, looking at that stat from EFC Stato, we spent £500 million. £500 million has been spent on players under Steve Walsh and under Marcel Brands as directors of football, and it's like we're no further forward really. So it's obviously with FFP to try and get that set of accounts 3 years ago, given that it's based over a 3-year period, to get that out, because that was a particularly bad one, and then hopefully next year, or even in January, we can start to sign players with a look at a sort of a down payment for, and structuring those deals in such a way that they can, we can start to really improve the squad, particularly next year. We're going to be there or thereabouts. We might finish top half this year if we have a particularly good season. We might be 10th again, and then it might be next season that we have to kick on. We have to try and be competitive in the Cups this season. The issue is the squad depth, but when you look at it, actually, we've only got League games and League Cup games to play before Christmas. No FA Cup, no Europe, nothing like that. So this squad of players, if we can keep them fit, should be able to manage that workload with the trainers and the way that training is structured these days. I'm sure that's achievable. We've just got to be careful of injuries to key players and hope for the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, who've played an awful lot of football really without a break. And obviously Dominic Calvert-Lewin's pulled out of the England squad for the internationals because of a thigh injury, just to give him a little bit of rest, and we'll have to rest Richarlison as well. So it's managing that squad. We're a bit short of players at full-back, but, we've got 5 centre-halves in Michael Keane, Jared Branthwaite, Yerry Mina, Mason Holgate and Ben Godfrey. They're going to be our backup full-backs, Holgate and probably Godfrey on the other side, with Nkunku going off to Standard Liège, which on the one hand I found a slightly unusual thing because it leaves us a bit exposed, but equally we know what a talented player he is. Going and playing in a good standard European league is really good for his development at this age, and he'll come back and hopefully he will really start to challenge Luca Dean if somebody does come in for him in due course, which obviously we hope they don't. And he has signed a new long-term contract not that long ago. So the transfer window, on the one hand, frustrating because we couldn't get the players out. We wanted maybe just one big signing would have, made it feel much more positive. But look at it from a squad perspective and certainly from a business perspective, actually we've done quite well. And it's just a case of now trying to shift out the last of those players, the Fabian Delphs, etc., that are big earners and not playing very much football. But if Gbamin starts to play regularly, that is like a new signing because he hasn't played for 2 years. We can get Rodriguez playing again. Again, he can be a massively useful asset to us, and Rondon is a really useful sort of striker. We've had, and don't forget Cenk Tosun still around as well when he gets fit. But Solomon Rondon is a much better option from the bench that we've been crying out for a year and a half or what have you. And he is that experience in the Premier League, scores goals, will suit the way we play, and he'll get lots of crosses, and I think he'll do well when he gets those opportunities, no question at all. And can also relieve that workload on Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So I think there's lots to be positive about. Burnley, of course, next Monday, after... as I record this, a matter of hours before Everton take on Man City, the ladies take on Man City at Goodison. First game from the Women's Super League to be televised live on BBC One, which what a fantastic moment that is. So, until next time, when I shall record after the Burnley game, we're back at base. You can get in touch at NMTVPod on Twitter, nmtvpod@gmail.com on the email, or just drop us a voice message if you want in the description to the podcast if that is where you are listening. This has been a top content production, and until next time, come on you Blues.